7-year-old paper check from the Apple Computer Company written out and signed by Steve Jobs for the amount of $4.01 has been put on the online auction block.
47년 전 스티브 잡스가 애플 컴퓨터 컴퍼니 이름으로 발행하고 직접 서명한 $4 1센트, 우리 돈으로 약 5,000원 액수의 수표가 온라인 경매의 매물로 나왔습니다. Let's take a look at the news first.
So this check was signed by Steve Jobs, and he gave it to Radio Shack, which was a very popular electronics store in the 80s and 90s. It's since gone bankrupt, doesn't exist anymore.
I know,
I feel it's okay to give them a shout out because they don't exist anymore. Now they're saying this check, they expect it to fetch more than $20,000. So as like the auction is due to end Thursday in the U.S. This auction house is in Boston, so it's going to end in a couple hours.
Yeah.
They'd already the article that I read, they'd said they'd already had more than 20 bids.
Yeah.
The highest bid already was $22,444. Now you might wonder, okay, why is this so valuable? They say any items signed by Steve Jobs are worth so much because they're rare.
Of course.
Because Steve Jobs famously did not give autographs.
Oh.
He only ate fruit and never gave autographs.
Yeah, he only ate fruit.
Yeah.
So I, saw a picture of this check.
Okay.
And he signs his name very interestingly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he doesn't use capital letters.
Okay.
And he signed it Stephen Jobs, all lowercase.
Really?
And you can see clearly it's Stephen Jobs.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so I think, if you buy this, if you win it, or if you win the bid at the auction, it will be worth a lot more later on.
Could be, yeah.
So I heard during the auction there's going to be other Apple related items that will be on the auction block, like the first generation iPhone that came out, that wasn't unpacked and stuff like that.
Okay.
I heard those are worth a lot.
I can imagine, right?
Yeah,
Tech
I
people.
think I read in the paper that if you have an old, iPhone that's lying around, the first generation, the first ones that came out, don't open it, just leave it, and then sell it later on because they're worth quite a lot.
Oh no, I had like 3 or 4 old iPhones at home, and I think my wife might have thrown them out.
Oh
no.
No. You have to hang on to those.
Yeah.
Right. So if you are interested, you might want to check out the news later on and see how much it actually sold for, because I'm sure it will make the news. 이거 아마 얼마에 팔렸는지 나중에 기사로 나올 것 같아요. 근데 이 체크 이제 기사들 찾아보시면 체크 사진이 나오거든요. 근데 스티브 잡스가 아까 선생님 말씀하신 것처럼 사인을 안 하기로 굉장히 유명해요. 그래서 이게 굉장히 높은 가격에 팔릴 것이라는 얘기가 있는 거고요. 보시면은 사인을 예전에는 미국에서 이렇게 뭐 지금도 많이 할 것 같긴 한데 수표를 많이 썼어요. 그래서 $4 1센트 이렇게 써 있고 그 사인을 굉장히 특이하게 스티브 잡스라고 저희가 굉장히 많이 부르는데 스티븐 잡스라고 써 있고 그 대문자로 안 쓰고 다 소문자로 써 있습니다. 그래서 한번 찾아보시면 재밌을 것 같아요. So let's take a look at the expressions that were used here. He signed it.
That means he wrote his name or his signature. Usually when we say you sign something, it's your signature.
Right.
So many people, their signature is just like a scribble. You
can't tell.
You can't really tell what it says, or it's hard to read.
Right.
Like when I was a kid, after hockey games, we would always try to get players to sign your ticket or sign your magazine, which is called a program.
But you can't tell who signed it.
It's difficult, or sometimes you can tell, right? Some autographs you can tell if you look closely at it.
Yeah. So there is a little bit of a difference between an autograph and when you sign something, right? An autograph is when you ask someone for their autograph, like a famous person, and they sign their name.
That's right.
But when we talk about signing something, it's for documents, and when you're signing like
contracts,
a check, contract.
Sure.
그러니까 사인을 하는 거는 어떤 뭐 서류나 이런 뭐 계약서 이런데 이름을 서명을 할 때 사인을 하는 거고요. autograph 같은 거는 이제 여기서 좀 사인해 주세요 하고 유명한 사람한테 가서 사인해 주세요 부탁을 할 때 autograph라고 합니다. 유명한 사람의 자기의 그 signature 이름을 사인할 때는 autograph라는 표현도 쓰입니다. Can you give us your example sentence?
This is actually a true story.
Yeah.
Bong Joon-gun signed a baseball for me
Yeah.
a few years ago when I did an interview with him.
He was with the Braves when I
Oh,
lived
yeah?
in
Really?
Atlanta. Yeah. So he was I never actually saw him, but I
Okay.
did go see Atlanta Braves game. So he was
nice.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
He lived in our neighborhood.
Really?
Yeah.
He told me a lot about his time there.
In Atlanta.
Yeah, because I was so interested in that because the pitching staff was so popular at that time.
Yeah,
John Smoltz and Greg Maddux.
yeah.
So he told me a lot of...
Glavin, Maddox, and
and then so he told me a lot of stuff. Well, you know your baseball.
I only know that time. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that era, right?
Yeah.
But still, wow, you threw out some names. I'm very
Yeah.
surprised. So he told me a lot about them.
I'm sure.
Really
I would
interesting.
have been very interested to meet him. But anyway, so 봉준군 야구 선수 굉장히 유명한 선수죠. Signed a baseball for me. 야구 선수인데 그 야구 공을 저를 위해 서명을 해줬다 이런 얘기죠. And so Steve Jobs' check was put on the auction block.
So nowadays, auctions are online usually,
Yeah.
right? So it just means it was put up for auction. But in the past, when there were live auctions, an auctioneer would actually stand on this platform where he would, going once, going twice.
Yeah.
Do I have another? Do I have another?
Yeah. And then we hear the
Yeah,
bang, bang, bang.
exactly.
Yeah.
So they're on this raised platform and they're selling the products or conducting the auction, I guess you would say.
Okay. All right. So 이것은 put on the auction block. 예전에는 진짜 땅땅땅 치고 그게 있었기 때문에 그 블럭이라고 해서 거기 위에 진짜 실제로 올려놓고 했기 때문에 이 표현이 쓰이는 거고요. 경매에 내놓다, 최고 입찰자에게 경매되다 이런 표현입니다. 제가 한번 다시 읽어볼게요. A 47-year-old paper check from the Apple Computer Company written out and signed by Steve Jobs for the amount of $4.01 has been put on the online auction block. Let's move on to the final headline.